Alien big cats are not cats from outer space. Instead, they're large cats that look something like black panthers, leopards, African lions or cougars, but they are seen in Britain. They're alien in the sense they're not thought to be native to the area. Most sightings are confined to the wildest places, especially swamps. A number of the more famous cases have received unique local names, such as the Beast of Bodmin Moor or the Fickstone Phantoms. The larger varieties that look like specific species such as leopards are generally presumed to be exotic pets. These are often kept illegally by their owners, so the authorities never know how many of these might be around. However, the hardest skeptics, including the British government, tend to reject this hypothesis. A large number of leopard skulls found on the moors have turned out to be from leopard skin rugs, adding to the controversy. Some cryptozoologists believe that Britain has secretly supported a population of leopards, European lynx or some other species of wild feline for thousands of years, with some going as far as saying this population may be around 200. This assertion is supported by folklore. There is no time when people do not sight big cats in the wilds of Britain. These sightings stretch back into the myths of prehistory. Before science replaced older explanations, these cats were usually thought to be demons in the form of cats. There was also an incident in August 2000, when a boy in the south of Wales was attacked by a creature resembling a panther. Britain is not the only place these giant black cats are found. There are reports of cougars near the Australian city of Perth. The Beast of Bodmin, also known as the Beast of Bodmin Moor, is a phantom wildcat purported to live in Cornwall. Bodmin Moor became a centre of these sightings with occasional reports of slain livestock. In April of last year, a lady named Lisa spotted a similar creature in broad daylight. She said the following: "I went down a country road and what I saw was maybe 100 yards in front of me. It essentially strolled across the road from right to left and leapt into the bushes. It looked like a black panther. It was shiny black and there was no way it was a dog, a deer or a domestic cat." Many have been debunked as hoaxes or misidentifications, but there are a few of the 2,000 or so that are reported every year that remain as mysteries. Many groups are gathering data around the UK to try and help explain strange goings-on around them. Poltergeists have been recorded throughout human history. Debate still continues about what exactly they are. Some believe that the genuine manifestations of the spirit of formerly deceased persons. In some cases, poltergeists are able to communicate through writing or the use of a Ouija board. In this way, a name and identity for the poltergeist is often established, but it's often not clear whether it's the identity of a real person or a purely imaginative creation. Most experts who have been personally involved with dealing with poltergeist cases are inclined to the view that poltergeists are not objective entities at all, but are in some way external embodiments of the emotional disturbance of a particular person. Typically, activity around poltergeist centres around individuals that are younger. They usually focus on one individual rather than a family, although the events do of course affect the entire household. To begin with, poltergeist hauntings may seem similar to regular hauntings, but what sets them apart is the aggressive nature of the haunt. Real poltergeist activity tends to include violence against the individuals in the property, and poltergeists have been known to inflict scratches and bites. Levitation, electrical problems and strange smells have also occurred. The Esther Cox case is a very peculiar case. It's a case filled with mysterious paranormal phenomena, deep psychological trauma and what a person's state of mind under severe stress can do. Esther shared a house with her sister Olive. Olive was married to Daniel Teed and lived together with their 2 children, Esther's 2 siblings and Daniel's brother. Although it had plenty of rooms, the house would at times become even more crowded, as Olive and Daniel rented out some of the rooms for extra cash. It wasn't until a traumatic event that the residents of the house began to see and hear strange phenomena. Shortly after her attack, she began developing severe fevers which at times were accompanied by strong seizures. This was unusual for Esther as she was always a healthy child. One night Esther was getting into bed, a bed she shared with her sister Jenny. It was late at night and Olive and Daniel were in the living room talking away into the night. A sudden deafening scream made them jump to their feet. Bursting into the room, they encountered the terrified sisters cowering in the corner. Apparently, both were witnesses to strange movements under the blankets. The girls told how there seemed to be something crawling underneath the blankets. It was big enough to scare them out of the bed. Everyone assumed that it was a mouse that was trapped in the sheets, but thorough searches revealed nothing. The same deafening scream was heard the following night. When Olive and Daniel burst into the room again, they saw an old box, which was full of strips of fabric strewn across the room. Apparently there was a strange noise emitting from the box, a loud noise which had awoken the girls. When Esther reached underneath the bed to pull out the box, it jumped by itself and landed in the middle of the room. Taken back, the girls saw the box a second time leap into the air and spilling its contents. The frightened girls were certain that something had tossed the box in the air. It was the same thing that had been making the sounds from underneath the bed. Things moved in the house by themselves, flew through the air, or manifested out of nothing. Household items disappeared from one location only to reappear in another, and later fires erupted mysteriously. The hauntings would at times stop, only to start up again, but they often followed Esther wherever she went. She began to hear voices and even the entities that tormented her in various ways. They frightened her and also harmed her physically. Scientists, clergymen and other doctors investigated the hauntings. A well-known reverend visited and witnessed a bucket of cold water on the kitchen table appear to boil. A Baptist clergyman, Dr. Edwin Clay, defended Esther after investigating and drawing the conclusion that she was not causing the manifestations herself. Dr. Clay spoke about the authenticity of the case at many lectures, where crowds of people gathered to listen. Locals and tourists in the Israeli town of Kiryat Yam have been flocking to the coast in hopes of glimpsing a creature that most people believe only exists in fairy tales. An alleged mermaid said to resemble a cross between a fish and a young girl only appears at sunset. It performs a few tricks for onlookers before disappearing for the night. One of the first people to see the mermaid was Solomon Cohen. He said the following: "I was with friends when suddenly we saw a young woman laying on the sand in a weird way. At first I thought she was just another sunbather, but when we approached she jumped into the water and disappeared. We were all in shock because we saw she had a tail." The town's tourism board is of course delighted with their newfound fame and local mystery. The Kiryat Yam government has offered a $1 million reward for the first person to photograph the creature. Town spokesman Nati Zimmerman thinks the reward money is well spent, saying that "I believe if there really is a mermaid, then so many people will come to Kiryat Yam, a lot more money will be made than $1 million. Of course, if the mermaid does not exist, perhaps as a hoax, an optical illusion or simply misperception of a known animal, then the town's money will remain safe and unclaimed, while the economy benefits from the influx of tourists trying to get a photo that will leave them set for life. It's not clear what people are seeing, though the power of suggestion and imagination can be strong. Identifying animals in water is problematic, since eyewitnesses by definition are only seeing a small part of the creature. When you add in the factor of low light at sunset and the distances involved, identifying even a known creature can be very difficult. Other reports date back centuries and offer no proof or evidence other than a story. For example, a Captain Richard Whitbourne claimed he saw a mermaid in Newfoundland's St James Harbour in 1610. Another story from 1830 Scotland claimed that a young boy killed a mermaid by throwing rocks at it. The creature looked like a child of about 3 or 4 but had a salmon tail instead of legs. The villagers supposedly had it at a funeral and buried it in a small coffin. Whether the Israeli mermaid sighting is genuine, a hoax, or to increase tourism, it still has many people flocking here in hopes of seeing a mermaid. Rudolph Valentino was the most popular film star of the 1920s silent era. He was born in 1895 to a French mother and Italian father. He grew up in Italy. When he migrated to New York, his godfather helped him get his first job. He was a taxi dancer, who was a person who danced with a variety of partners in a cafe for 10 cents a dance. Valentino, being an above-average dancer, began to perform for New York society. Later, it was Valentino who introduced the Argentinian tango to America, when he performed it in his first film, The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse in 1921. Valentino once said, Women are not in love with me but the picture of me on the screen. I am merely the canvas upon which the women paint their dreams. On screen, Valentino was known for his deep penetrating gaze. In real life, Valentino was never lucky in his marriages or love affairs. When Valentino first started acting, he was in a string of B-rated movies. It was during this time his mother died and he fell in love with a small-time actress by the name of Jean Acker. Acker was not attracted to men, but Valentino was not aware of this, so he proposed. Acker accepted, thinking it might be a good way to avoid scandal in her own life. He moved on when he discovered the truth. It's the shortest marriage in Hollywood history. It lasted only 6 hours. Valentino made a trip to San Francisco. He brought a ring at a jewelry store, despite warnings from the owner that the ring was cursed. He wore the ring while shooting his next film, The Young Raja, which turned out to be the only flop of his career. Valentino put the ring away and didn't wear it again until he went to New York following the filming of The Son of the Sheik. A few weeks after the premiere of Son of the Sheik, allegedly while wearing the ring, Valentino collapsed at the Hotel Ambassador in New York. Initially diagnosed with appendicitis, it was discovered that he had ulcers mimicking appendicitis. Doctors were initially confident in his recovery, but he soon developed an infection on the abdominal tissues. His condition worsened, and he died on the 23rd of August 1926 at the age of 31. After Valentino's death, his lover Paula Negri was given her choice of mementos from Valentino's collection. She chose the ring and almost immediately fell gravely ill. She survived and a few years later met singer and actor Russ Colombo. Negri gave Colombo the ring. A few days later, Colombo died in a mysterious shooting incident at the hands of a friend. The ring next went to Colombo's best friend Joe Casino, who locked the ring in a glass case and refused to remove it, even to donate it to the Valentino Museum. Eventually, he decided the cursed ring was false and removed the ring from the case. Within a week of putting on the ring, he was hit by a truck and killed. A recent study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences revealed that a series of mysterious lines and geometric shapes carved into the Amazonian landscape were created thousands of years before the rainforest even existed. The purpose of the massive earthworks and who created them still remains unknown, and scientists are beginning to realize just how much there is to learn about the prehistoric cultures of the Amazon, and life before the arrival of Europeans. The unusual earthworks, which include square, straight and ring-like ditches, were first discovered in 1999, after large areas of pristine forest were cleared for cattle grazing. Since then, hundreds of the earthen foundations have been found in a region more than 150 miles across, covering northern Bolivia and Brazil's Amazonian state. The ditches were sculpted from the clay-rich soils of the Amazon, and are typically around 30 feet wide and 10 feet deep, alongside 3 feet high walls. However, the largest ring ditches found so far are over 1,000 feet in diameter. The purpose of the ditches remains a complete mystery. The fact that many of them are clustered on a 200-meter high ground suggests they may have been used for defense. However, others suggest they were used for drainage, or for channeling water, since most were placed in a spring water source. A team of researchers who published a paper in 2010 argued that the layout of the ditches is highly symbolic, and could have been used for ceremonial and religious function. Until recently, it was believed that the earthworks dated back to around 200 AD. However, the latest study suggests they are in fact much older. Study author John Francis Carson, a researcher at the University of Reading in the United Kingdom, had this to say. The sediment cores have been taken from 2 lakes near the major lake earthwork sites. These sediment cores hold ancient pollen grains, and charcoal from fires long ago can reveal information about the climate and ecosystem that existed when the sediment was laid down as far back as 6,000 years ago. The results revealed the oldest sediments did not come from the rainforest ecosystem at all. Rather, they showed the landscape before 2,000 to 3,000 years ago looked more like the savannas of Africa than today's lush rainforest. The earthworks predate the shift from savanna to rainforest, which reveals the creators of these ditches carved them before the forest moved in around them. They continued to live in the area as it became forested, probably keeping clear regions around their structures. The discovery and dating of the ditches sheds new light on life in the Amazon region thousands of years ago. Previous studies have stated that the area could only support a small impermanent village. Instead, it seems likely that the Amazon teemed with complex societies, immersed in a rich culture and advanced enough to undertake massive construction projects, which would have required a large coordinated labour force. The questions remain as just to how many more earthworks may exist undetected under the remaining forests, and what the true extent of their construction work really was. Scotland appears to have its fair share of mermaid sightings throughout history. Beginning in 1890, Newark Bay became the location of multiple mermaid sightings. Many people thought the talk of mermaids was just hearsay and rumour. However, many more people began sharing their tales of what they termed the Dearness Mermaid. However, this mermaid was not the beauty of past legends. People described a 7-foot-long humanoid with pale white skin and black hair. The locals described her crawling onto rocks using her arms and sliding back into the waves. The few glances of her that people got were at a distance. The Dearness Mermaid was apparently quite wary and stayed far from the beach shore. However, the mermaid only stayed in the bay for a few summers, and then silently disappeared back into the murky depths. In Ireland and some places in Scotland, mermaids are called merrows, and the stories of these elusive creatures date back to the 9th century AD. Many stories of these creatures gave warnings to the locals about the dangers of the merrows or merfolk. Many sailors of past centuries believed that a real mermaid sighting meant impending doom of some sort, either terrible storms, a shipwreck, or both. Sometimes the merfolk were thought to even cause the storms that would wreck the ships. Often children in Great Britain, Ireland and Scotland were warned from going too close to lochs, rivers and even wells. This was in fear of being taken by the merrows. Mermaids have been seen by the British for hundreds of years. One particularly intriguing story written and published in the British press in 1810 tells of a pair of merchildren found on the Isle of Man. Apparently, a couple of fishermen thought they'd heard a dying bird or animal of some sort and went towards the noise. There they found one dead merchild and another one that had been injured in a recent storm. They took the injured merchild home and nursed it back to health. The merchildren were apparently under 2 feet in length, had the torso of a normal child and the tail of a fish. Also, their hair was like that of seaweed and it was even green in colour. The merchild would eat mussels provided by the man and sometimes drink from a quill of water or milk. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.